I'm Anthony Jenkins, the Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. And on behalf of Dr. Bell and the entire university community, welcome and thank you for coming out this morning to be with us for a few hours as we address some very important issues related to our university community.
Good morning. Thank you. If you would indulge me for just a moment, I want to share a personal story. When I was a little girl, I was my father's pet. Do we have any pets in here? You might say I was spoiled. Whenever something didn't go my way, I would complain to my father, and being his pet, he would always try to fix it. Well, one day something happened and my father was not around. So I went to my mother and I was crying and I said, "It's not fair." And my mother looked at me and without blinking, she said, "Life is not fair. Get over it." I thought, what? I expected more from her. I thought that was the meanest response I had ever heard. Well, a few years later, when I was 13 years old, my mother went to church on a Sunday morning and she never came home. She died at the age of 36 of a hemorrhage, a cerebral hemorrhage, right there on the kitchen floor in the church. Over the years, her harsh and stern admonition to me, "Life is not fair, get over it," has helped me through many, many rough times in my life. That advice came back to me this weekend when I learned of the murder of one of my students, Edmund St. Clair, right here on campus, and then again yesterday after learning of the death of a former student, Dixon Maruri. It's not fair that a bright young man was taken away from us. It's not fair that Edmund's family and friends have lost a loved one and we have lost a member of our family. It's not fair that this senseless act occurred on our campus during homecoming. It's not fair that despite all of the great things happening at UMES, we have been thrust into the spotlight under such negative circumstances. It's not fair that while we were still grieving our losses, we have to endure yet another loss in the death of Dixon. And it's not fair that another family has lost a loved one. But life is not fair. We have to get over it. While this is a defining moment in the life of our campus, we cannot allow ourselves to be defined by the violence that took the life of Edmund or the despair that ended the life of Dixon. Just as I was able to survive the loss of my mother when I needed her the most, we will survive our losses. Just as I have grown stronger with each injustice that I have overcome, we will grow stronger from these injustices. We must and we will get over it. And we will grow stronger as individuals and as a UMES family. Until this past Saturday, we listened to the news and we sympathetically mourned with other communities in their own tragedies. And we have been humbled that we were spared. Then, when one of our own was killed in an unspeakable and tragic act of violence, we were reminded that despite our efforts to remain a place of safety, sanctuary, and learning, we are not immune from the tragedies of this world. UMES is a microcosm of the society and the world in which we live. We do not have a bubble that we can lower to protect us from the outside world, or even from the ills of the world that sometimes come in with us. These are turbulent times for us, but today I want to use this opportunity, first of all, to talk about the two students that we lost, Edmund and Dixon. Then I want to talk to you about what you are feeling and what you can do. And finally, I want to talk about how we move our community forward, how we get over it. First, let's talk about Edmund. Edmund was a student who professors said stood out in a class. He dreamed of becoming a doctor. He had a passion for producing reggae-style music. Although many of you may have known him, I did not. However, I have learned a lot about him in the days since his death. Like many of the more than 4,000 students here, he came here to pursue an education that would provide him with a career of his dreams. He had passion and he had potential, like you do. Dixon was a veteran who served in the U.S. Marines. Upon his discharge, he chose to pursue a degree in aviation sciences here at the university. While he might have faced some challenges, he also was seeking opportunity for a better life. In the wake of these tragic events, you may ask, how do we move forward? How do we get over it? The next part of our journey must be one of empowerment. While this is a defining moment in the life of this university, we cannot allow this violent act to define us. I stand before you today a different person. I'm different than I was 3 days ago. We are all different now. We are more aware of both our surroundings and our own feelings of well-being. We are trying to go on with our lives while trying to process our losses. We are challenging ourselves as a community to support each other. We are shocked and pained and angry and sad. We are moving through all the stages of grief. But we are also a vibrant community of more than 4,000 students and hundreds of faculty, staff, and administrators. We are smart, we are resilient, we are tough, and we are powerful. We are not victims. We must and we will take steps to ensure the continued safety of those within our care and within our employ. Indeed, we are committed to doing more than just promising to tighten security measures. We have tightened security measures. We will explore all avenues to ensure that our campus continues to be a safe and secure environment to the best of our ability within the society in which we live. We must encourage one another to act when we see or hear about violence on our campus or in our community. We must support one another in times of crisis like this. Yes, this journey involves the realization that the strong seek help and the strong seek support. Now I'd like to ask you to stop for a moment and look around. Students, hopefully you see your faculty members, your advisors, staff people who work in various offices around the campus. All of us are here to provide the support that you need, that belongs to you, our most precious resource. We inspire each other and our community to make a difference. We must overcome our inclination to retreat inwardly and live in fear. We must find the strength that we need to move forward and to move on in a society that is not always safe, where people hurt other people and don't always act the way that we may want them to or treat us the way that we would like. We must remember that in times like these, we can do something. We can choose to do something. If you are here today and you are angry, upset, and afraid, if you are discouraged, concerned, turn those emotions into a force for good. Help us to make our campus intolerant to violence, impatient of disrespect for the lives of others, and inconsistent with injustice. Let us turn these days into a motivating force and embrace the words from the poem Invictus. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced, nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloodied, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. This is a challenging time for the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. This is where we find out what Hawk pride is made of. This is a time for us to take the lead in creating a new reality for our university, our community, and ourselves. John F. Kennedy wrote, "When written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger, and the other represents opportunity. Today, we embrace our opportunity. Yes, Hawks, we are bowed, but I stand here this morning to affirm that we are not broken. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Thank you."
At this time, I would like to bring to the podium your SGA President, Ms. Shana Washington.
Good morning. On behalf of the Student Government Association, we would sincerely like to extend our condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of both Aaron St. Clair and Dixon Murray. Within 48 hours, we lost 2 beloved students, and today our hearts are heavy. No words will sustain the grieving, and none will take away the pain. But today, we must stand united as a university to uplift one another. We need to understand that life is short and should not be taken for granted. Many of times, we get so caught up in ourselves that we forget about those around us. UMES, student body, faculty, administration, we need each other, not just during a time of loss, but each and every day. What a lot of us fail to realize is that a smile or a hello goes a long way. You never know the type of day that someone is having, or even if you're ever going to see that person again. It should not take a tragedy to unify us as a student body. Despite the negative, today we must celebrate the lives of our fallen Hawks. We must celebrate the lives of both Dixon and Edmond, as they will forever live in our hearts.
All right, we are coming to the close of our program today. And I just want to, again, if you would join me in giving all of our keynote speakers, and especially our leader. You can tell a great deal about how authentic a person is by the decisions they make in time of crises. And Dr. Juliet Bell, our president, has made outstanding decisions throughout this entire process. And she has been supported by a police team that has done an outstanding job, and an administration, an entire community of Hawks who have been willing to stand and make sure that we continue to move forward. So let's give our speakers and our leader another thunderous round of applause. I am going to isolate her and single her out. I would like for you to also give Shana Washington another round of applause, your elected student leader who always rises to the occasion. Thank you, Shana. I am the last speaker. And as I sat and I listened to the words that were shared by all of the individuals who stood at this podium, it is important for us to never lose sight of the end goal. And although it has now been a few days since these heartbreaking tragedies have impacted our community, and while many of us will never be the same after experiencing these tragedies, I am confident that we will forge ahead. And while we may never know all the reasons why these tragedies occurred, we do know that every day since, life has been different. Over the past year, we have had our share of heartbreak and loss. Many of us do not understand these tragedies, and it is never easy to get over losing someone that you care about. So today, we pause and we take a moment to reflect. See, we are Hawk strong. We are Hawk strong. We are strong enough to embrace our sadness, brave enough to cry, and sad enough to know that the violence must stop. See, we may not be able to prevent every act of violence on our campus. No laws or policies implemented by the university can ever ensure that we will be completely safe. However, any action that we take must begin with us. We have to want to change. Change does not come easily. It requires tenacity and determination that is unbreakable. The type of unbreakable spirit that is Hawk strong. And as educated people, we know that such violence has terrible consequences for our university and for one another. And if there is even one thing that we can do to prevent our community from witnessing this type of violence ever again, we have an obligation, all of us, to try and to make sure it doesn't happen again. The days of making excuses and looking the other way are over. We cannot allow this anti-snitching mentality to seep into this community of scholars. See, now is the time for action. See, now is the time for us to challenge the myths and the stereotypes and ourselves to change a culture. It is time to leave the on-the-block mentality on the block. See, you are in a community of scholars, and it is here that you should be driven to reach your intellectual and creative limits. No one deserves tragedy. No one. But we are Hawk strong. And we must be willing to embrace our own, to protect one another, and protect this great institution that each of you have helped build. See, we are Hawk strong. We are brave. We are full of life. We are unrattled. Each of you in this room are better than you think, and not yet what you're going to be. We are Hawk strong. In this room sits the cure for AIDS and cancer. In this room sits the next Thurgood Marshall, the next Jason Wu, the next Charles Drew. In this room is the future. See, you will continue to invent tomorrow because you are Hawk strong. And together, that is how we will move forward. In spite of the violence that has disrupted our community of scholars, we will prevail. Yes, our resolve has been tested, but we are Hawk strong. Yes, our hearts are heavy, but we are Hawk strong. And today, this is what I ask of Hawk Nation. Conduct that self-assessment. Make sure that you are starting with yourself for being accountable. Make sure that you continue to be your brother and your sister's keeper. Make sure that you understand that iron sharpens iron. Make sure that you understand that you will never let hatred and violence destroy the community that you have built. Don't allow this tragedy to define UMES. Don't allow the ignorance of a few to diminish the future of many. It is time to change. I said it is time to change. No one person can do it alone. It takes a community of Hawks who are committed to one another. See, our success is built on a foundation of trust. Trusting one another, trusting our police department, trusting the administration. That is the partnership that we must have, a partnership that is equal, student and university, a partnership that is intertwined, that if we do not have that, we will continue to travel down the same roads of despair and disgust. See, right now, today, not tomorrow, right now, we have to decide what type of university we're going to be. Are we going to be a university of greatness, or are we going to be a university of great disappointment? I believe that the former is who we are, because we are Hawk strong. We are great, and we will rise to any occasion. But the choice is ours. Will it be difficult? Yes. Will it be impossible? No. Regardless of the task that has been put before us, regardless of the tragedies that we have encountered, we will prevail. We will define UMES. Each and every one of you in this room, every Hawk seated in this arena today will define UMES. Not the external constituents, not the naysayers or the critics, not the individuals that believe that UMES is second rate, but we're talking about each and every one of the scholars in this room. You will define UMES. You will help everyone else see that we are great, and we will move through this with great resolve, great tenacity, and great determination. We are Hawk strong. The possibilities before us are endless. Each and every one of you within you have an untapped oasis of potential. And I am confident 100% that Hawk Nation will continue to soar. We've been hit and we're bruised, but we're going to soar. That's what Hawks do. On the sunniest of days and in the greatest storms, Hawks soar. When times are tough, when things are going well, Hawks soar. When the odds are against us, when the naysayers and the critics bet against us, Hawks soar. Today, we will prove to the nation that Hawks soar. As the Vice President for Student Affairs, my team will lead and work across this institution and partner with students and leaders, the administration, faculty, and staff to enhance stronger anti-violence policies, to make sure that we create a platform that supports conflict resolution, that every student on this campus can tap into and have within them the mechanisms and the resources they need to not encounter such issues in the future. We will develop peer programs led by our student leaders and other students across the institution aimed at reducing violence and bullying on our campus. All of these things will take a partnership that is unwavering, unbreakable. It will take us collectively to stand together and remain Hawk strong. And right now, I want everyone to stand up. My grandmother once told me many years ago that people do not come into your life to stay. They are merely passing through. And if you are fortunate, if you are blessed, those individuals will change your life for the better. Our lives are better because of Edmund and Dixon. They passed through our lives, and for that, we are better. So for our fallen hawks, let's raise the roof for them one last time. Hawk pride! Thank you very much.